next. We're going to the death of Joshua's favorite character.
Yes, if you're listening only audio, you can't see it, but I'm actually wearing a black shirt. I showed up tonight wearing this black shirt to mourn one of my favorite characters.
You guessed it would happen.
Yeah, Littlefinger. This whole season, we were like, there's no way that Arya and Sansa are really like playing against each other, and that Sansa's actually listening to Littlefinger. He's such a manipulator. How could she go along with it, right? So we've all been like, there has to be something else going on. Turns out there was. And
Thank goodness.
Yes. And that amazing scene where she summons Arya, and Littlefinger's just leaning against the wall, his smug little self, pulling all these strings. Not this time. And yeah, Arya, you know, Sansa gives him the reading of his life. Oh my gosh. And then Arya takes the cat's paw dagger. That I know you love that dagger, but it got put to some good bloody use this episode and took Littlefinger out.
How did that scene play for you? Did you buy that she was going to turn against Arya, or did you expect her to turn against
I was like living in the moment and wasn't trying to be like, oh, like trying to figure out what they were going to do. I was like, holy crap, like Arya is good. Like she is great at what she does in terms of combat, but could she get out of this room? And would they really like kill Arya like this? Would Sansa do that? Because the earlier scene where it was Sansa and Littlefinger, and like learning a little more about how Littlefinger's mind works, that really had me believe it, right? And so, but when it was all like a misdirect, right? Mm-hmm. And then she turns and starts accusing Littlefinger of everything he's done throughout the entire show, and she had it right, because when he said a couple episodes ago when he gave Bran the dagger, he's like, this dagger caused the War of Five Kings. No, it didn't. You did, Littlefinger. And they had got to the bottom of it, and this also means that Bran has been useful.
I know, that's what I was like, this is the most useful thing that Bran has done all season long. But it's funny you say, you know, they had it right. To me, I thought you had it right, because we've had so many conversations about Littlefinger, why he's your favorite character. We did this ranking of all the Game of Thrones characters, and you fought for him, and you said he is responsible for everything. And when they were like reading out all these charges against him, all I could think was Joshua had it right the whole time. Joshua was completely correct and because there were some things that we didn't necessarily know. We didn't know that it was Littlefinger's dagger, because that's not how it played out. And well, actually, I guess we don't know if it was Littlefinger's dagger in the books. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But I think it was so interesting to see those track back and him get all these charges leveled against him, and then for him to go out in such an unceremonious way. Like Sansa didn't read a charge. She just said, you're tried for treason and murder, and then Arya just sliced his throat. Brutal. But I think the ending he deserved, to have like his protege just outsmart him and beat him at his own game.
Yep. In a way, he should have been proud.
Maybe he was for a second.
A half second. No, like I was saying, like I was in there in the moment. Like when he was like desperate and was trying to talk his way out of it.
And what a good performance too.
Yes. Yeah, especially that first moment. And they pointed out in the after the episode, the showmakers were talking about it, of just him being like, come again? Excuse me? Everyone's going to use that meme of that guy going, huh?
Replacing the blinking eye guy.
Yeah. So that was incredibly awesome and really cool. I will say that the fact that Littlefinger, he did cause this war among men and women, among of all the politics. He's been playing the Game of Thrones this entire time. But the fact that he's dead is very symbolic to where the show is at now, is that the Game of Thrones no longer matters, right? He's sort of like closing the chapter of that story. He started the War of the Five Kings. It's essentially over now because they put all of that in the past. Let's just say it's on pause for now. Maybe it's not quite in the past to fight the dead. So I think that's also a really cool way for Littlefinger to go by closing that chapter of the story.
I also think what'll be really interesting looking back is like in this episode, I'm already thinking about it and how you have a new understanding of those scenes between him and Sansa on the sort of like barricade or whatever, the wall thing. Really don't have the technical terms in my head right now.
The castle thing.
The castle thing. The dragon swoops or whatever, like war terms, battle terms we were trying to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
Spoils of war, and people were correcting us. So yeah, up on the wall. You see that scene, and at first you think that it's settling in that she's going to go and call Arya or whatever, but really she's just preparing herself for taking down Littlefinger. My question, I think what people will go back and look at is like how much of the conflict between both of them was real and how much was an act over the course of this season. I almost feel like it might be up until Arya confronted her that it was real, and then they had the shift in this episode. But do you have a different take on that?
No, yeah, that's what I was wondering too. Is like, so when did they make this plan? Was it all along? Were they sort of just like making Littlefinger think he was playing them, but really since the beginning they were playing him? Or did it really just happen between last episode and this episode that they were like, they kind of teamed up and like had like a heart-to-heart off camera, and Bran wheeled in his wheelchair and he's like, I have some things to tell you. Here's all these important plot details you'd like to know. And he's like, I want to be part of the takedown. Ask me, refer to me so I can say something really creepy, and knowing that he said in private, he whispered in someone's ear, right? Like,
yeah, I wonder if they practiced it, did a couple takes beforehand.
Yeah. I'd like to think it was a long play and not something they just came up with before this episode. But it's I guess up to user interpretation at this point.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note too that they really did. A lot of fans, us included, were like, well, where is Bran for all these scenes? And I think it's important that they didn't have him there, because then we don't have the answer, right? We'll just sort of have to try and unpack it, or just trust that the show knew what was happening, because that was, something the showrunners talked about, was we knew we were building to this point, and so we could craft the whole season knowing we were building to this point. So they had a plan, guys. They had a plan.
Yeah. So goodbye, Littlefinger.
Do you have some final words?
Yeah. Listen, he was a master manipulator. He always had something up his sleeve. His sleeves had sleeves, and there was something in there too. Some of my favorite scenes were with him and Varys, the other master manipulator of the show, and we know his clock is ticking too. So yeah, he's one of my favorite characters. Not because I like him as a person, mind you. He is a terrible, awful, despicable sociopath, and he deserved what he got, but he went out in great style, and he played the game. He was one of the best players of the game, and so pour one out for you, Littlefinger.
That's our show. If you enjoy Dragons on the Wall, please like and subscribe, and give us positive comments everywhere you like to watch. Tell your friends, tell your family. There's a long, cold night of a wait ahead of us before we get to season 8. And make sure to like and subscribe to IGN as well, every place you like to watch. Thanks, guys.